Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. So grateful to have all of you founders and business owners here. Today is going to be an incredible session. We're going to learn all about the keys to influencer marketing. And I'm so grateful to bring Wells with me today to speak with you. For those who don't know me, my name is Brooke Shapiro. I own a marketing agency that helps business owners like you market to parents. I provide all the marketing solutions and resources from content creation, PR, influencer marketing, email marketing, everything, strategy to help bring your business to life. And so one of the questions a lot of founders keeps asking me when I help them grow their business is if they should do influencer marketing. When do they do influencer marketing? What's the budget for influencer marketing? And so I wanted to create this webinar today and bring in an expert to help educate you to know if influencer marketing makes sense for your business at the stage, when it works, how you evaluate influencers so that you can get the best value for your business. So with that, I'm going to kick you guys off with Wells, who's going to talk about influencer marketing. And please put in the chat questions. I'll be checking, and we'll make this really conversational, fun, and easy. So thank you for joining, and thank you, Wells, for coming today.
Thank you, Brooke, for that introduction. Great to be here. Really an honor. And I always love just talking with founders like all of you. I just think what you're trying to do, like basically do something new and build something in the world is what the world needs more of. And so I admire your perseverance and vision, and love getting to know founders. And so I'll just give a little background on myself. So I'm actually a physicist by training. I spent a long time in academia before deciding that it wasn't the right path. And then about 6 years ago, started doing business development for a tech company. And then just in the past couple of years have gotten into the startup world. And one of the early problems that I encountered myself and for other startup founders that I was speaking with is, how do you grow the business? How do you get the word out? And started learning about this space of influencer marketing. And so I'll share basically what I've learned in my journey. I think one thing I would say at the outset is the space of influencer marketing is so new that essentially no one's really an expert, because the landscape is evolving so quickly. So everyone is figuring this out as the landscape evolves. And so I'm also eager to learn from your experiences. Maybe some of you have tried some influencer marketing. Curious to hear what your experience has been. And so with that, why don't I jump in and as Brooke said, let's make it like very conversational. Feel free to interrupt at any point along the way. And there's plenty of time at the end for questions and discussion, which I think is often the most interesting part of these kinds of sessions. Cool. So with that, let's see if I can advance slides. Cool. So as I said, I'm a physicist. I like breaking problems down into their like raw essentials. And basically, influencer marketing is just one tactic in the broader pursuit of the general goal of influence, which has been around for a long time. There are lots of books on this subject. And for me, what's interesting is like, how do you convince someone in the world to do something that's new for them? So like this is like essentially what every marketer is trying to figure out. And I think what is if you look at the history of marketing, the reason why marketing has changed over time is because the ways of communicating with people have evolved. And today, the amount of information that is thrown at us is just so vastly much larger than the amount of information that I was exposed to, as a kid, a couple decades ago. So the explosion of social media, the explosion of the internet, this has like generated many more channels for communicating with people. And as a consequence, we have all built up our own barriers for protecting ourselves from this onslaught of information. A lot of those barriers are mental. We tune things out, or we may have filters in our email to send spam or like promotional emails into a junk folder that we never read, or maybe our phone, we're screening out calls. We erect both sort of like mental and also technological walls to insulate ourselves. But I think what's interesting about influencer marketing is it's essentially going to the very primordial instinct that we have of identifying with people who are similar to us. And essentially the strongest way that you can typically influence someone is if they get exposed by a close family or friend to doing something new. And that's usually like the most powerful mechanism for getting them to change their behavior. And so influencer marketing, I'll switch to the next slide of like, okay, what is this thing? Generally, what we're referring to is taking people who are influential, typically online on social media channels, and using them to promote a given product or service. And so it's taking the classic recommendation from a friend that has always been an influential force, and multiplying it by the fact that now there are platforms available that make distribution just much easier to scale to thousands and millions of impressions.
And Wells, can I just like chime in here? So
please.
Just for you guys, as like a marketing geek myself, and I've been in advertising for 15 years, influencer marketing used to just be like a celebrity, right? Like you would find like you'd have to pay thousands of dollars to get Kim Kardashian or someone to talk about your product, so people would use it, right? Like the Pepsi days with Brooke Shields, my idol, the other BS, or like, someone else who like be the face that you wanted to be, like aspirational people, right? And now with influencer marketing, what's crazy with social media, it could just be someone who's like really good at makeup or really good, with parenting for me, like everything I follow. And it's just make it a little bit more attainable. So it's not a celebrity anymore. It could just be an everyday mom who has lots of like connects with you and understands, like Lindsay Gurk, if anyone knows her from Influencer. But it really has made, another channel for marketing that's more affordable, more actionable and authentic, right? Because sometimes you see a celebrity and you're like, well, that's not me. But this makes it more real. And so just wanted to chime in because like that's, how it has evolved from celebrities to people now with lots of followers that are kind of mini celebrities. And now there's even, you'll talk about, and if you don't want to give it away, like micro influence and everything, how it trickles down. So just wanted to let everyone know that's kind of more like geek history part.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good historical context. So actually, let's go to that. So, okay, different types of influencers. The celebrities that Brooke just mentioned typically are going to be in your mega category, and generally they're going to be categorized based on number of followers. And these are kind of like loose definitions because your number of followers is going to be different on different platforms, and followers on one platform may not be exactly the same value as followers on another platform. But roughly, if you got over 1 million followers, you're probably some kind of celebrity that was famous before even getting onto social media. And then a tier below them would be macro influencers who have a very widespread following. They may have just like built up a YouTube channel that is like very popular and very successful. They weren't like a famous actor or athlete or anything before getting online, but they've been very successful in growing their audience. The next category down is micro, so roughly 10K to 100K followers. And to do that, you've got to have a dedicated following, typically in a particular category. And this, the reason why I bolded this category is this is, for me, the sweet spot of influencer marketing, because you've got people who are, to get over like the 10K threshold, you have to take this project of like building your online following pretty seriously, and you got to put a lot of work into it. And so it weeds out a lot of the people who were just like not that serious. And so you've amassed a good number of followers, but you haven't gotten so broad that your following is relatively diffuse. So like, a lot of YouTube celebrities say Mr. Beast, okay, millions of followers, but like the connection that he has with his followers is probably pretty tenuous. I mean, like my kids love Mr. Beast, but how closely do they identify with them? Probably not so much. If you consider instead like someone who's like an expert in a certain area, like fly fishing or skydiving or grilling out, and they've built a following around that particular area of expertise, the connection that their followers are going to have is typically going to be a lot stronger. So when I think about like highest like return on ad spend, I really like the micro category, which is not to say that you can't also benefit by working with influencers in other categories, but that to me is like the sweet spot. And then below them would be like typically considered the nano influencers. It's roughly 1,000 to 10,000 followers. And a lot of them are just kind of like getting started, doing it as a hobby, and hoping probably to grow into a larger one of the upper tiers, but they may not be as serious about it.
And they may not have the marketing skills. Sorry, is the other thing I just want to share. They may not know, because when you have more followers, essentially, let's be honest, social media influencer, you're like a marketer, right? You're marketing yourself, you're marketing what you're doing, you're marketing your day. And so they have a bit more experience of knowing how their audience also interacts with their content too, which is also really great when working with different sizes. But if you have a smaller budget, like also keeping that in mind too, you might just be giving it to nano influencers, right, for free. But then if you're paying for it, you may be paying more for micro influencers. And so also, as you think about how much you're spending with them, how much you're investing, like Well said, return on ad spend, so how much you spend versus what your return is, right? That's where we're going to kind of talk about more. And we can also talk about at the end of like what you need to give to these influencers to make sure they know how to get your product out there, what information, so that you get the return and value from it.
Exactly. So, I think when you think about, okay, there's many different ways that you can do marketing, that you can get the word out about your product or service. Why consider influencer marketing? I think there's several advantages that you can consider. It's essentially what it allows you to do, first of all, is target very specifically. So, Google ads and Facebook ads, they will allow you some level of targeting, but the advantage of working with an influencer is basically you know exactly the characteristics of their audience based on their following. And so if you're working with them, you know that, okay, that's the very specific type of audience that I'm going to be reaching when I work with them. And then the level of engagement that you can get because of the connection with the influencer is typically higher. Whereas like if I just, am scrolling through Facebook and I see a random sponsored ad come up, that may be like less impactful to me because it's not connected with someone who I already am following. So by working through the influencer, the engagement levels are typically higher than just traditional digital marketing. And in terms of like the goals of what you can achieve, part of this is like, obviously you want to drive sales eventually, but also you can use influencer marketing as a way of building your brand awareness and just like the reputation that you have, so that when a potential customer is considering making a purchase, that your brand is more top of mind.
Yeah. And also, Wells, another thing just really quick is you're getting content from them, right? Like even like, yes, you're getting their followers, which I think is like key, right? Getting their audience, you're getting the validation and testimonial from them most of that, like they love it, why they liked it, they're using it, etc. But the biggest thing also is like this new content you get. And a lot of times when you are partnering with an influencer in your contract or whatever you have with them, you can say, I can use this video somewhere else. I can use this video on my website. I can use this video on my social page, right? To fill up my content. And so I think there's the getting the validation from the influencer, but also, having that content is key versus having expensive studio making and beautiful production. And that can cost you thousands, when you can just get some influencers who are really great, know what they're talking about. They're great marketers, obviously, that can make content for you.
Yeah. And actually a lot of times the very polished version may be less effective than the sort of like, you know, the video that someone just takes with their phone, because it looks more authentic.
Yeah. And another tip and trick that I like to do is, you know, with influencer marketing, when I use it for my clients, is I also can put it in an email. I'll put it on our website. Right. And so I've like used this one piece of content in 3 different ways. So I've gotten a lot of value from it too, which I like.
Yeah. And the other thing with content is it's a great way of like boosting your SEO. You know, eventually, like, you know, that's like the holy grail that we all like to get to. And so if you add good content on your website or your blog, that's going to improve your SEO scoring.
Right. And SEO, search engine optimization, if anyone isn't familiar with that.
Yeah. Thanks. So, okay. Let's say you're interested in trying out some influencer marketing. Okay. Who's the right influencer to work with? This is, I think, one of the big challenges of doing influencer marketing. So you want to like choose someone who's got credibility, relevance, someone who's lined up with your values, your messaging, and make sure that you can basically, you know, quantify like what's the reach that they're likely to have. You know, you just want to make sure that they don't have a lot of like fake followers, which, you know, certainly sometimes happens with some accounts. And I think it's also worth keeping in mind that on the other side, the influencer is also going to be choosy about which brands they want to work with, because if they're promoting a given brand, you know, that affects their own reputation. So, you know, the level of choosiness will vary, but often they may say no if they feel like a particular brand doesn't line up with what their audience would be interested in. So there's a bit of like back and forth to figure out like what's a good fit between the brand and the influencer. Cool. So I think if there's one thing you can take away from this, I hope it's to think about how do you build an authentic connection with any influencer that you're working with. And the disappointing thing to me in talking with many influencers and also brands is that often they'll set up these working relationships that end up being very transactional, where it's like, okay, I want you to like create this particular type of post, and I need it by this day, and this is what it should look like, and okay, go do it for me. And I think what's really the most powerful connection that the influencer can have with their audience is going to be when they really believe in whatever it is that they're producing. So if they can get a personal connection to you as the founder or someone else at the brand, to really understand what's your story, what's your mission, why is this product or service really a great thing that actually is going to be great for their audience, that level of understanding and connection is going to shine through in whatever content they produce. So I'd really encourage you to think about like how can I set up a way of getting to know them and letting them get to know me, so that when they go out on my behalf to promote me, that it really comes across as genuine.
And they know about your product too. As I'll tell, like, again, so I used to work on marketing at Clorox, and I worked on Kingsford, and we sent out charcoal to all his influencer network. And we would have people trying to use charcoal and not knowing how to use it. Like, they wouldn't know how to light it. They wouldn't they'd like use a grill unsafely, right? Like, and we'd be like, oh my gosh, we can't use this content because it's, you know, a hazard. So making sure that, you know, if you're going to have people create content for you, you want to get good content back. So making sure they know about your benefits, they know why to use you. You like tell them what you want them, not tell them what you want them to say, but they understand what point you're trying to get across. Like Sarah, you mentioned earlier, you're tutoring. So like you can tutor kindergarten through 8th grade, and here are the topics, so they don't misspeak and say, oh, it's like 8th through 7th, you know, like you need to kind of give them a little bit more information too, so that it's authentic and they can they know what they're talking about, you know? I think that's the other big key, at least I've seen when I get content back.
Can I ask a question real quick? Do you mind?
Yeah.
So with that, like in terms of like obviously giving like good brand guidelines then so that people aren't using charcoal incorrectly, things like that. Do you see a lot of companies give, you know, like a one pager or like a packet or a document to influencers that kind of lays out like certain verbiage and brand kit stuff and everything like that? Or do you think it's a little bit more like nuanced than that, where the influencer just kind of takes what they see from the business and then goes with it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wells, do you want to answer and then I can chime in?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, I think that kind of guidance is great. You know, basically equipping them, equipping the influencer with sort of everything that they need to know to really understand your product, understand your vision. I think all of that is great. The one thing I would encourage you not to do is, you know, don't give them a script of what to read. You know, give them the license to like add their own personal touch to it. I think most influencers would kind of be insulted if you just gave them a script. So if you have some direction on like, okay, here's the style that, or the feel that we're going for, I think that's great. And then let them interpret it as they see fit.
Yeah. Or the other thing is I had, like when I used to do it for Clorox, I would have like a just like watch out list, like don't, you know, light a flame with your hands, not, you know, like in like a windy area, just for like, you know, again, their safety, or like, hey, make sure you don't talk about, like I worked on trash bags. They're like, don't put it over your head to be funny. Like they're just like safety things. I would just like make sure, because especially influencers, they're very creative people, right? And so they can go out there, like, you know, and so having some like, whether it's just safety or, you know, legal things you need to be careful of are just something I always make sure to say, because you don't want them misrepresenting you.
Can I ask a question as it relates to that?
Yeah.
So in our document that we send to influencers, we haven't sent it to that many, but it does have like, yeah, it has guidelines, but it also has like bullet pointed kind of like, oh, you could talk about our meals like this or like this or like this, like not like quoted, but like just to give examples of like, oh, this is a great easy lunch, or it's a great vegetable side for two people, like just to give them some ideas on like how they could talk about it. Do you feel like that? See, when I was doing that, I was like, I feel kind of inauthentic doing this. Like, I feel like we should just have them say whatever they want to say. But yeah, I'm kind of conflicted. So I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I guess my first thought would be like, make sure that they understand the hard facts of like, okay, you know, maybe they need to know the ingredients of the product, or like, or, you know, how to use it. So I'd focus on like just making sure that they like really understand, you know, how the product works, what's behind it, the, you know, technical details, and then sort of let them sort of add in their commentary on why they think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think Zoe, I know with your meals, it's like, I think the inspiration of ideas, I think is okay. You know, like we can inspire influencers so that they know it's not, because I think they might be like, oh, it's just another dinner that I microwave, right? But I love that you had said, like, did you know it could be a side? Did you know it could be, you know, if you make it more of like a curious, like, hey, did you know you could do it as a side? Or, hey, did you know it feeds two people, not just one? It could be, you know, that kind of like is more informational than like giving them direction. So I think it's okay. So that because we're all experts about our product, right? And our service and everything. But these influencers are getting like tons of brands in their face all the time. And so they don't know, this is their job. Like, so sometimes I think a little bit of like knowing about your product or a way to do it can be really helpful.
Yeah,
so,
thank you. I like the idea of inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, any other questions? Thanks for chiming in. Cool. So, you know, a few other thoughts on how to make influencer marketing successful. So some of these that we've already talked about. You know, giving some creative license, clearly defining the goals up front. That's really helpful. Making sure that you're just lined up with your own values and messaging, and then, you know, doing some measurement of the campaign's effectiveness, and basically learning over time. These are all things that I think you want to build into your process of executing effectively. So what I thought I'd do now is go through just a few case studies, just to give you kind of a flavor of how this can play out. I think these are just sort of illustrative of like the different styles of or different approaches that you can take to influencer marketing. So the first one is a baby product brand that was very successful overseas, but didn't really have much US presence. So what they did is basically took the credibility that they had with some of their fans from overseas, and then used some influencers in the US in order to basically grow the product in this new market. And they started with some product only compensation, and then went to some cash compensation. So this is also something you can play around with. Do you want to just give out free product, or do you also want to pay cash to the influencers? And a lot of times that'll just depend on the value of the product. If the product's very expensive, so you probably don't even need to give any cash. If it's lower value, then yeah, you might want to consider some cash compensation. So here's.
Can we talk about cash compensation for 1 second,
sure.
if that's okay, Will?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So again, since I do manage many brands marketing, we always get approached by people in our DMs. Let me know if it's happened to anyone else, where it's like, hey, for $500, I'll make you a video, or like, check out my followers. And you get a lot of those DMs. So I think if you are going to pay, ensure you have a good, they're giving you something. It's not just a story, is what I always say, that's not enough value. It's a video you own. It's by a certain date. They post a few stories and a video, making sure if you're going to pay someone, you're really getting like good value from them and have a goal in mind. Like, they're going to give you 500 new followers or something. Because I think there's so much out there that's like spam or, sketchy influencers too now, because it's so easy to just grow your social following if you're a random person on TikTok or something nowadays. So I think before you pay anyone, just make sure you have a clear goal in mind of what you're trying to achieve from it. So it doesn't come off as like, it's just a one and done deal, or it's like, I've seen influencers DM my brands for $900 or to do a giveaway for $700. And it's like, cool, but what I'm like, make sure I have a goal in mind. So that's just like the one thing I want to, let founders know, because I know it's a big trap a lot of my clients have fallen in previously.
Yeah, that's a very good warning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, go on.
So yeah, here's another example. This is a fitness supplement brand that basically like was doing quite well, but just their growth had kind of stalled out. So they had done traditional digital marketing in the past, but wanted to try some different approaches. And I think the way that they found their influencers was creative. They basically took their existing customer base and then looked for those existing customers, which influencers were they following on social media, and then they reached out to those influencers and asked to run campaigns with them. So basically, they were figuring out, based on their existing customer base, okay, who are the strong influencers? Okay, let's work with them to basically expand the visibility of our brand. So I think that's a good strategy for finding new influencers to work with. Here's another example: a vegetarian snack food brand that set up a brand ambassador program. And basically, I think this idea of a brand ambassador I kind of like, because essentially it's setting up a longer term relationship between the influencer and the brand. So it's not just like a one-off thing. It's like, okay, we're going to work together for 6 or 12 months. And maybe every month you're going to have a couple posts. And so then that gives you like a longer time to get to know the influencer and for their audience to get exposed to the brand. And so I think that's a nice way of thinking about setting up a long-term relationship with an influencer. In this case, they were able to just compensate the influencers with free boxes of product. And it was for the influencers, like, hey, this is like really great snack food that I'd be buying on my own anyway. So great, now I get it for free in exchange for making some posts.
Another thing too, for everyone to see how your influencers are, not how they're doing per se, but are you getting results? Is sometimes people will give them an affiliate link. I don't know, Wells, if you've run into that in the past, is you can create a unique link so that founders, like you can see, did anyone click on it and drive sales? Did they go to my site? Because we're doing so many different things in our marketing. You might not know, is it the influencer marketing that worked? Was it that email I happened to send the same day? So having a unique link might help. And the way affiliate links is like you give a kickback to the influencer for everyone that buys your product. And they offer usually like a discount to their followers as well. That's another thing is when if you want your influencers to get their fans to buy your product, you know, sometimes you might say like, use a discount code. So that way you can track, oh, like discount code Mindy, and, you know, Mindy Kaling, you know, was the influencer or whatever. So just also keep that in mind so you can, you know, kind of see if it's working or not. And also the influencers like to give something out to their fans too.
Yep. Yep. Cool. And then I just one other example. This one is different. This is actually B2B instead of B2C. But this is like an enterprise software company, and they, yeah. So I mean, basically, you can do influencer marketing regardless of your audience. So in this case, they found a YouTuber who did not have a large following. I think it was just a few thousand followers, but those followers were exactly the niche that this enterprise software company was selling into. In other words, like data engineers and software engineers. And because the software is very complex, it's like hard to market, and it sort of looks the same in terms of like just like marketing materials as lots of other products. So they got this YouTuber to do like many like very deep dive videos comparing their software with other competitors and really explaining in a thorough way to his audience, okay, well, why is this differentiated? And basically, this proved to be quite effective because he had just a lot more credibility as like a third party, and he had a lot of expertise. He's a software engineer himself. So that's an example of how you can take an expert in a certain field to basically do some education of the market when that's important. Cool. So those are a few case studies. You know, if you're thinking about this, how can you get started? There's essentially like three categories that I would think of for how you can get started. So starting at the bottom, the most expensive option is there are many influencer marketing agencies. Those will typically run 5 figures for an engagement. There are probably some exceptions, but I would say like that's typical. So that's the high end option. And you know, Fortune 500 companies, they're typically gonna go for that option. For a lot of us founders, that's like just not within our budget. So a couple other options to consider at the lowest cost end is just do it yourself. You can just go on to social media platforms. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube are the most popular, and basically look for influencers who would be a good fit. And a lot of them will have an email address in their bio, or you can send them a direct message, and you can get some good success just like reaching out to them directly and say like, hey, I'm from this company. Here's what I'm looking for. Maybe a brand ambassador. We're looking to work with some influencers. Are you available? Are you interested? And so that's an option that only costs you some time. And then in between, there are a lot of platforms out there, like literally hundreds of platforms that you can also use. Some are free. Many are going to charge you something. And they will basically streamline that process of reaching out to influencers. So I included a link to a site that has many of those platforms indexed and reviewed, and they're even more out there as well. So basically, a few different ways to kind of like try things out. Generally, like my personal view is like start with like the cheap and easy option and like test the waters there, and then if you're finding some success, you might migrate upwards. But different founders are going to find different strategies that work best for them. So that's basically it for like the prepared content. I did want to just say thank you to all of you for joining the session. So this code Sprinkles23 will give you a $50 credit at my site Syncy. if you want to use that. And we can probably distribute this later. But probably maybe we can use the rest of the time. I'd love to like hear some of the
Wills. Just a quick
yeah.
I went to your site when you were talking about being a physicist and so forth. Okay. I'm not really clear what all those people are doing for what it is that they're like. Could you explain that a little bit more? What that is?
Yeah. I mean, basically, we have a number of creators who are able, who can generate content that then you can use on your social media or put behind paid ads. So our site is a bit more focused on user-generated content as opposed to influencer marketing. So basically, the distinction there is just like, do you have the influencer post to their channel, or do you get the content and then post it on your brand's social media?
So UGC is when you get the people, they make the video for you, and then you just take it and you post it on your site. So it makes it so you don't have to always have content on your site, right? So that's the benefit of UGC. So that's what Syncy does. And so then also there's influencer marketing where you have them post for you. So it just depends on what you need. Influencer marketing can mean lots of things across the board. I actually think of UGC within influencer marketing as part of it. And so that's just like another option for everyone if you're looking. I've connected with Wells with some of my clients and we've had really great success, which is why I wanted to partner together for this webinar today. But I think it just is another resource for you guys when it comes to content. I did see in the chat, someone wanted to talk about savvy giveaways. Was it you, Stephanie?
Yes, that was me.
Okay, awesome.
Thank
so
you.
Giveaway, of course. So giveaways are kind of like influencer marketing, right? They usually have a lot of followers. They're asking they'll ask people to follow your brand. They'll be giving away your product. I ran it last week with one of my clients, got protein balls. If you guys are looking for protein balls, they're delicious. And we got lots of followers from it, actually. We got 1,000 followers. And that was our goal. And so that was, for us, it worked out great. A lot of them were bots, is the hard part too when you do savvy giveaways or anything where there's lots and lots of fans. So it's like a quality versus quantity. We just wanted to seem more authentic. And we're like, all right, we're trying to get we're trying to get like lots of growth. And so we want to have lots of followers, which investors ask for, how engaged your audience is and all of that. And so we just really wanted to ensure that we were growing and we are, have that visibility, because what's happened now, and just to go on a tangent really quick, is you don't seem like a real brand unless you have lots of followers, right? Like you seem more authentic with more followers you have, which is, I think is silly, but this is where we are in marketing. And so we just want to, a lot of brands need to get the followers to seem really authentic and seem all really legit and real. And so savvy giveaways is a good way to get that. I can't remember the cost offhand. I can follow up with you, Stephanie, if you want did we get a lot of people buying our product yet? I don't know, but we got the followers, which was our goal. So I hope that helps.
Sorry, can I just ask a follow-up question to that? Sorry, what's a savvy giveaway?
It's an Instagram handle right now. So they do giveaways. So they have millions of fans. And so they'll do like Fire Rocks, Scott's protein balls, and I don't know, some soup, 18 chestnuts, and get this bundle today. You like all these like these pages, and so
how much did it cost, Scott's protein?
That's what I don't remember offhand. I'd have to look.
Okay.
I'm
I think
sorry.
$1,000 is good, but it's like depends on the cost too.
Right. So I think, okay, so it's $500 giveaway for a mom influencer with $425. $500 for follower growth.
Sorry, it costs the brand.
Oh no, so I'm sorry, that was what Stephanie was saying. I don't know savvy giveaway. I think it probably was like $800 if I were to guess, knowing our budgets. But again, I can follow up with the exact amount. I just don't have it offhand for savvy giveaway. But Stephanie was posting that she got an offer for $500 to do an influencer campaign with 425,000 followers. And is that worth it? If you're trying to grow followers, I mean, maybe if that's your goal, that I don't know, like it depends as the influencer like aligned with, do they seem like they are gonna like they align with your brand, I guess is the first question. Is it the influencer? Does she do this all the time? Like this is because there are lots of influencers, well, you probably see this too, but there are influencers that are just like farms. They're just like, look at my new sock, look at my new, and you're kind of like, oh, like, you know, it doesn't seem authentic. So I think I'm just always really careful with the influencers I work with. For example, if I can share what I do, like one of my clients was a wellness product, 18 Chestnuts, a soup brand, and they wanted to reach nutritionists. And so we just worked with a bunch of nutritionists and said like, hey, try our soups, make a video, do what, you know, how do you want to come across it? And one of our most successful influencers, her video got 10,000 views, and it was her talking about like having a baby, needing to eat quickly, just having something snack on the go. Like it cost us, I think, $250 for, you know, 10,000 views, which is huge. And we got a ton of followers from that. So again, I just don't know. Everyone has different marketing budgets. If my first amount of money is going to go towards, you know, $500, I don't know what she's going to give you, but again, I don't know your marketing budget to say if that's a good choice or not good choice. And I don't know the influencer per se. So it just depends if they're really going to give you more.
And to Stephanie's question, I definitely look at that mom influencer and just make sure like, okay, when you look at her feed, it's not just like a ton of spam. So like, does it look like, you know, a real mom who's like being authentic and talking about her life? And, you know, if it is, then yeah, maybe it is worthwhile.
Yeah. And her followers too, like make sure they're not, like if you can like check her followers, you can see like they all seem spammy. If I can share another example, we did an influencer with another client. I'm not going to say their name. And this girl had a ton of followers. And we did this video about our product with her. And we were like, yeah, we got 5,000 views. And then we looked at the comments and it's like, oh, you're so pretty. You're so hot. Like it was just like, yeah, she had a ton of followers because she's beautiful. And the people who were following her just follow her because she's really beautiful. Like it wasn't about, they didn't care about the product we were showing. You know, she did a great video. I'm not going to lie, but it was also like, when we used her audience was like guys liking her. They didn't care about our product, right? So I think that's just like an example of like, do your homework. But yeah, I think just look at the list.
I have a couple questions, unless someone else wants to.
No, please.
Well, how does this strategy change at all when you're looking to work with TikTok influencers? Because I'm not really familiar with that platform. So I'm just wondering if there's anything like more nuance there.
I'll let Wells answer TikTok.
Well, the one thing I would say is like TikTok more than any of the other platforms is like very good at getting things to go viral. That's why it's been super successful. So I think the advantage of that is like, yeah, you can get a lot of exposure through TikTok. I think the cautionary thing to think about is someone may have a lot of followers on TikTok just because they had some like dance video that went viral and they got millions of views. So that you should just sort of do your due diligence to make sure that they're actually a good fit, besides just their follower count.
Okay. Thank you.
Also the age. Sorry, is always the one thing I would say on TikTok. Just depends on what age you're trying to reach. For example,
young people is what you're saying. There are a lot of young people.
It's mostly younger kids. Yeah. Again, back to clients who have made mistakes. I just want to share. It's like, I have a high priced client and they're doing videos on TikTok, and TikTok is a lot of like middle schoolers. So when I was showing them who was looking at their videos, I was like, yes, we got a ton of views. I don't think their allowance is going to pay for this. It's the problem. So just keep that in
that's
mind.
A really good point. Yeah. Thank you. You both. One other question I had, unless someone else has a question, is like, when would you look to work with influencers over the long term? Like I know this brand, it's like a dairy-free hot cocoa mix. And they do like brand ambassadors, and they like have them post like a couple times a month, like forever. I don't know for how long, but like not just a one-time thing. And then they see like the immediate sales impact of that. So like, I guess it really depends on your goals, but anything.
I'm a big fan of that kind of program because it just means that you have a stronger relationship with the influencer, and that they're just more invested. So I think that can be a really great option.
Would that be like at least 6 months kind of thing? Like that's probably good to do at least 6 months.
Well, brand ambassador programs are, I think, are just can be a little different. So I'm not sure the program you're mentioning, but like for, again, my clients where we've done brand ambassador programs is we found, I'll give the 18 Chestnuts example of their soup brand. We made brand influencers of these nutritionists. So we would give them, you know, can you get $500 in sales? Like we would give them whoever, you know, if you get 5 million views, you get a t-shirt. Like we had like a Facebook community where we were constantly engaging them. So we weren't paying them per se. It was like that, like growth, you're part of something. They were getting the kickback with that affiliate link. So they were like wanting to post, if that makes sense. So it was like a long-term thing. Like we didn't have like contracts per se with them. It was just more like they love our product. We send them product all the time. It made them like do it on their own versus paid.
Yeah.
If you're thinking more like a paid partnerships with influencers over a long period of time, that could be different. Right.
Yeah, no, I think that's what she does. She does like, she just sends them free product and they just post because they get the kickback. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like
So
with that affiliate link. Yeah. Like I'm a brand influencer for a bunch of baby brands. So like I like for childcare. So I get free babysitting if I like post a few times with Sprinkles parents, you know, and I get like free childcare with June care. So it's like a win-win for me. And like in that Facebook group, you know, we see which mom has like the most, you know, people signing up. And I'm like, I'm like second, like, let me push myself next week. So like motivates me, but she's constantly messaging me and emailing me and reminding me, because if you don't, people forget is the problem too. Cause we're brand influencers, brand ambassadors for so many brands.
Right. Gotcha. But the main goal there is like online sales, like sales on that, like 18 website. Like we're not really focused on that right now, but maybe we should be. So anyway.
I think, well, we could talk offline if you ever want to. Like frozen category is a different beast.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a retailer, you know, it's kind of also a little different because you have to appease the retailers too and get people in the different stores.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah. Did you have another question today or?
No, that was it.
Awesome. Anyone else? Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining. If you need any help or support with your influencer and UGC content, like please reach out to Wells and Syncy. If you guys need help with your marketing, I'd love to help you with marketing coaching. I have a marketing on the fly program. So every month you can get all the questions answered you need on the fly. So definitely here to support your business growth, and we'll send the recording after this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great one.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.